There's this special kind of dread that's just reserved for the attic, isn't there? It's more than just the dark or the dust or all the old junk we shove up there. It feels like something deeper, more primal. So today, let's climb that rickety pull-down ladder together and really try to understand the psychology behind that unsettling fear of what's upstairs.
So this quote, "When I was a kid, the attic always scared me more than the basement did." That actually comes from one of the true stories we're going to get into. And I'm guessing that for a lot of you, that hits close to home. But why, right? Why is it that the space right over our heads feels so much more threatening than the one buried under our feet? Well, that's what we're here to figure out.
I mean, think about it. A basement. That feels like its own separate thing, right? It's this underground world, but the attic? That's actually part of your house. It's this hidden pocket of space literally hanging right above you. A forgotten room that should feel familiar, but it just doesn't. And that's really where the fear starts to creep in, when something familiar gets twisted.
So yeah, why is the space so close but also so separate, so darn unsettling? That's the big question we're tackling today. And to really get to the bottom of it, we are going to dive into 3 incredibly disturbing and supposedly true stories where the attic, well, it becomes the stage for something truly bizarre.
All right, let's get into it. Here are our 3 accounts. Each one peels back a totally different layer of attic horror. We've got the Sleepwalker, the hidden history, and the unseen vandal. Okay, so when you look at these stories side by side, you can see they tap into really specific fears. First, you've got the fear of what we might do when we're not in control, when we're asleep. Then there's the terror that our own home has this dark past we know nothing about. And finally, the dread of someone or something getting into a place that's supposed to be completely sealed off and safe. So we're going to kick things off with that middle one, the hidden history. This story, man, it really gets at that terrifying idea that the place we think we know best, our own home, might be hiding secrets way older and way darker than we could ever imagine. And it all starts with this, a black box. Apparently, a teenager finds it while he's up in the attic looking for Christmas decorations. And inside, it's just filled with all this stuff. Notebooks, maps, sheet music. And it's all covered in his frantic, obsessive handwriting. It turns out to be a journal. A record of a former resident's spiraling obsession with the house itself, and specifically with the attic.
And as you read through these journals, you can literally watch this person's mind just unravel. I mean, it starts out kind of rational. The writer's measuring the attic, convinced some of the space is just missing. But then it becomes this total obsession with one specific wall, documenting every little crack and bump. Before long, he starts hearing things, scratching, and even breathing from behind that wall at night, and by the end, the words are gone. The final pages are just rows and rows of tally marks.
So here's the kicker. The teenager and his dad, they actually tear down the wall. And guess what? The guy wasn't crazy. There was a hidden, empty room back there. But there's no other way in or out. And even weirder, the walls inside are covered in these strange black symbols and shapes. So the discovery, instead of solving the mystery, just makes it 1,000 times worse. How on earth did those markings get there?
And that whole idea of an impossible presence, something being where it just can't be, that's a direct link to our other 2 stories. They really share that same core theme, the absolute terror of finding something unexplainable in a place that's supposed to be totally secure. In both of these other accounts, the narrators are hit with this undeniable proof that, well, that something else is there. In the Sleepwalker story, a kid actually wakes up in the pitch-black attic and hears these soft thuds. He describes them as like a footstep coming from different spots in the dark around him. And then in the Unseen Vandal story, the homeowner is out in the backyard and sees movement behind the tiny attic window on 2 separate nights. It's that same chilling feeling, a presence where there shouldn't be one.
Okay, but the sequence of events in that last story is what makes it absolutely bone-chilling. So the homeowner discovers the attic has been totally wrecked. There's thick, wet black paint smeared on everything. He frantically searches the whole house, finds nothing, and then he hears thumps and dragging sounds coming from directly overhead, from the attic he just left. So he rushes back up there, nobody's there. But now, there are deep, fresh scratch marks gouged right over the wet paint. The timeline makes no sense. The intruder was still there, still working, while he was searching the house. It's not just a break-in, it completely defies logic.
And that really gets to the heart of what makes all these stories so creepy. None of them have a neat little ending or everything is explained. They all end with these logical impossibilities that leave the people who experience them, and honestly us too, with this permanent feeling of dread. I mean, just think about all the unanswered questions. How did the sleepwalking kid get through a dark, cluttered attic without getting hurt, and who or what was in there with him making those sounds? How are those symbols drawn in a sealed room with no other entrance? How did the writer's notes have details that you could only know after the wall was built? And how did the vandal get in and out of a sealed attic in a super creaky house without anyone hearing a thing? These aren't just plot holes, they are total breakdowns of reality.
This quote from the guy in the hidden history story just says it all, doesn't it? I don't think anyone can rationalize it. There's no reasonable explanation. That perfectly captures the psychological damage from all three of these events. Because when reason just completely fails you, when you've gone through something that just doesn't fit into how the world is supposed to work, what are you left with? Just pure, raw fear.
And that's really the true horror here, isn't it? It isn't about some monster jumping out at you. It's about being faced with a mystery that you know can never, ever be solved. The real terror comes from having an experience that shatters your understanding of safety, of logic, of reality itself. And then you just have to keep on living with that broken reality.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What secrets does your own home keep? That quiet, dusty space above your head, the one filled with Christmas decorations and old photo albums, what if there's something else up there too? A secret you just haven't found yet?